precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation news edited by J.O. Garaj and read by Sharif Tahir. Headlines. Gazette issue declaring railway services as essential service. The commuters blame the railway trade unions for a responsive act. Stern action against trade union terrorism. Some trains will operate today amidst trade union action. Sri Lanka announces $10 billion local bond swap deal ahead of IMF visit. Cocaine consignment worth 190 million rupees seized at BIA. Commuter injured after falling from crowded train. The new anti-corruption law will be active from Friday. News overseas, Libya floods entire neighborhoods dragged into the sea. In sports, cricket Asia Cup, Velalaga's heroics in vain as India enter Asia Cup final. Local news in detail. Sri Lanka has accepted offers to exchange about $10 billion worth of defaulted local debt for new bonds, the finance minister said on Tuesday, taking it a step towards meeting debt restructuring requirements ahead of an international monetary fund review. Sri Lanka has been battling its worst financial crisis in more than 7 decades after its foreign exchange reserves depleted to record lows and forced the island to default on its debts in May 2022. The bonds, largely from superannuated funds, were eligible for exchange under a domestic debt restructuring program announced by Sri Lanka in June. A total of 3.2 trillion rupees of the 8.7 trillion rupees in bonds eligible for exchange were accepted, the finance ministry said in a statement. The settlement date of the exchange has been set at September 14th. The success of the invitation to exchange will enable the Republic to reduce gross financing needs over the next 10 years, thereby contributing to achieving the Republic's GFN target agreed in the context of the current IMF-supported program, the statement added. A delegation from the IMF will arrive in Colombo on Thursday to start the evaluation process for the first review of the $2.6 billion 4-year program, which Sri Lanka secured in March. Under the IMF program, Sri Lanka has set a target of restructuring its debt for the next 10 years and reducing its debt to GDP ratio from the current 120% to about 95% from 2032. However, Sri Lanka still needs to complete talks with key bilateral creditors, including Japan, China, and India, before it can take the next step to restructure its debt. President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued a Gazette notification declaring railway services as essential service with immediate effect under the Essential Public Service Act, President's Media Division said. Taking into account of the present status of the railway services, the President has issued this Gazette notification. The decision is taken to protect the passengers' welfare. Many passengers travel through train from long distance. Meanwhile, the Railway Department says the Railway Drivers and Locomotive Operating Engineers Union, who are on strike, are asked to report to work today. If not, they will be considered that they vacated the posts. A person who was travelling on a crowded train plying from Colombo to Rambukana has reportedly been injured after falling from the compartment at Bulugahagoda last evening. The injured commuter has been rushed to the hospital for immediate medical attention. This incident comes hours after a youth tragically fell to death at Horape railway station while travelling on the roof of the Kandy-Colombo Fort train crammed with passengers last morning. The 18-year-old had fallen off the train after knocking against the roof of the railway station and died on the spot. More than 100 short-distance trains scheduled to operate today were cancelled due to the strike action launched by the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union since midnight yesterday over several key demands, including amendments to the recruitment process and promotions, which they say have been delayed for nearly 5 years despite their constant requests. As a result of the trade union action, passengers were seen train surfing due to overcrowding, and many others were left stranded at railway stations. Sri Lanka Customs has impounded a consignment of 2.5 kilograms of cocaine at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake. Customs spokesperson said the parcel containing cocaine with an estimated value of 190 million rupees had been air freighted from Brazil. During inspections, the officials discovered the stock of narcotics calculatedly stashed inside the piped hem on either side of the volleyball net. One authorized officer who had arrived at the airport to clear the package has been apprehended by the Customs Narcotics Control Unit. Further investigations revealed that the package had been addressed to an individual residing in Colombo. The suspect and the seized contraband will be handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau for onward probes. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
Continuing with more stories here at home. Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Cabinet Press spokesperson Dr. Bandalu Gunawardena said yesterday that strict measures will be taken against terrorism-type strike actions by the railway unions at the press conference held at the Government Information Department. He also stated that this arbitrary strike was carried out while a discussion was called regarding the promotion procedure and salary issues of the train drivers, and measures were being taken in this regard. He also said that he requested the President to make the railway service an essential service to prevent the public from being affected by such strikes. Yesterday evening, the President issued a Gazette notice declaring the railway service as an essential service from midnight yesterday, and also the police and the army have been deployed since yesterday for the safety of the train passengers. In this press conference, the minister also stated that President Ranil Wickremesinghe had advised him not to allow any terrorism that would harm the public. He also said that with the release of the Railway Service Gazette notification, the difficulties faced by the people will be avoided, and although a discussion was scheduled to be held today to provide solutions to the problems, a student fell off the train and died due to the strike carried out arbitrarily by the union. All the 84 people involved in the strike are responsible for this death. The minister also said that he has requested the IGP to conduct an impartial investigation and punish all those responsible for this murder. Condolences were expressed at the press conference for the death of a student who fell off from a train, and the minister also said this. The commuters blame the railway unions for irresponsive act. Minister of Transport Dr. Bandalu Gunawardena mentioned this at a media conference to brief the cabinet decisions yesterday at the Government Information Department. The commuters are angry and worried about the present status of the railway service. The minister reiterated that the trade union action could be identified as a trade union terrorism. This cannot be allowed. The minister added that stern action will be taken against the errant trade unions and trade union terrorism will be eliminated. Meanwhile, the Railway Department says some trains will operate today amidst trade union action. That's local news for the moment.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The new anti-corruption law will be active from Friday. The Ministry of Justice says many suitable amendments were made in the existing law to strengthen the law. It is reported that the Bribery Commission was established in 1994, but the corruption and bribery activities are not controlled as of the state. Therefore, the empowering and strengthening law are identified as a need of the hour to mitigate this menace.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight, the University Grants Commission is now calling applications for university admission for the 2022-2023 academic year from September 14th based on the results of the students who passed the GC Advanced Level examination held last year, 2022. Accordingly, around 45,000 students will be selected to the National University Systems this year. Meanwhile, several universities and faculties have taken steps to introduce 12 new degree courses this year, and 20 new departments have been started.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
World News headlines: Libya floods, entire neighborhoods dragged into the sea. Biden impeachment inquiry, McCarthy says House will investigate President. Apple forced to ditch lightning charger in new iPhone. World News in detail. Rescue teams in Libya are struggling to retrieve the bodies of victims that have been swept out to the sea in tsunami-like floodwaters. At least 2,300 have been killed, according to the Ambulance Authority in Derna, the worst affected city. 2 dams and 4 bridges collapsed in Derna, submerging much of the city when Storm Daniel hit on Sunday. The U.S. House of Representatives will open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden, its most senior Republican has said. Kevin McCarthy said the inquiry would focus on allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption by Mr. Biden. Republicans have been investigating the president since they took control of the House in January. Finally, on World News, Apple has confirmed its new iPhone will not feature its proprietary Lightning charging port after the EU forced the change. The tech giant said that the iPhone 15, unveiled at its annual event on Tuesday, would use a USB-C cable as the universally accepted standard. A new Apple Watch series was also unveiled with a more advanced chip. That's on World News.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalu Sittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also open to Sri Lankan kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News.
The Colombo Stock Exchange will introduce 2 significant initiatives shortly: regulated short selling through stock borrowing and lending, which are aimed at enhancing trading opportunities and flexibility for investors. In this regard, the CSE conducted an awareness session on RSS and SBL to the institutional and high net worth individuals, investors, and CEOs of trading participants on September 8th at Shangri-La, Colombo, with the participation of CSE Chairman Dilshan Veerasekara, Chief Executive Officer Rajiva Bandaranayaka, CSE Chief Regulatory Officer Renuka Vijayawardena, Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka Deputy Director General Tushara Jaratna, and the senior management and the staff of the CSE. That's on Development News. Moving on to Sports News. Cricket Asia Cup. Dunit Velalage's all-round heroics could not save Sri Lanka as India recorded a 41-run win to enter the Asia Cup final in their Super 4 game played at R. Premadasa International Stadium yesterday. Velalage earned himself the Man of the Match award for his 5 for 40 and unbeaten 42. The Sri Lanka top order threw away their wickets in their quest to chase down the 214-run target, but were all out for 172. Openers Pathum Nissanka and experienced Dimuth Karunaratne scored only 2 as Sri Lanka was struggling to make runs. Kusal Mendis scored 15 in 16 balls with 3 fours, but paceman Jasprit Bumrah accounted for his second wicket. However, Charita Salanka departed, scoring only 22 in 35 balls with 2 fours. Adding to the disappointment, Dasun Shanaka was also dismissed for 9 runs by Ravindra Jadeja. The 63 runs 7th wicket partnership between Dhananjay De Silva and Dunit Velalage failed to surpass expectations as Dhananjay was unfortunately out for 41 from 66 balls with 5 fours, with Jadeja making a breakthrough. However, young Velalage made a fighting unbeaten knock of 42 in 46 with 3 fours and a 6, but there was no one to support him. Indian leggy Kuldeep Yadav finished with 4 for 43 after the previous day's 5-wicket haul, while Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja took 2 wickets each. With this victory, India qualified for the finals with 4 points. Both Sri Lanka and Pakistan have 2 points each.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Union Assurance posted an exceptional financial performance building on its success at the beginning of the year, and the company's gross written premium for the first half of 2023 continued its upward trajectory, surging 13% during the first half of the year, surpassing the industry growth of 9%. This growth was driven by a 14% increase in regular new business premiums, at 11% increase in renewal premiums, and a remarkable 102% increase in group life premiums. Union Assurance also solidified its position as the third largest regular new business provider in the first half of 2023. That's on Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And on economic news, exporters are expected to bring back their export proceeds within 6 months if they hope to collect VAT refunds from the Indian Revenue Department following the abolishment of the simplified value-added tax system. The transition into the removal of exemptions is expected to be very complex due to the timing of the passing of the law. KPMG Principal Tax and Regulatory Division Suresh Pereira said one of the major concerns about the VAT system is that money is not being brought back into Sri Lanka. That's on economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says showers will occur at times in western Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. A few showers may occur in Hambantota district. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Batik districts during the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north central and northwestern provinces, and in Chinkamali and Hambantota districts. This weather report was published this morning at 4:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. That's the weather update, and before we wind up this bulletin of news, back to the headlines. Gazette issued declaring railway services as essential service. The commuters blamed the railway trade unions for a responsive act. Stern action against trade union terrorism. Some trains will operate today amidst trade union action. Sri Lanka announces $10 billion local bond swap deal ahead of IMF visit. Cocaine consignment worth 190 million rupees seized at BIA. Commuter injured after falling from crowded train. The new anti-corruption law will be active from Friday. News overseas: Libya floods, entire neighborhoods dragged into the sea. In Sports Asia Cup, Velalage's heroics in vain as India enter Asia Cup final. With that, we conclude the bulletin of news, and it's back to Dilshan for the moment. You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka.